In today's episode, we'll settle on an actual location, from site parameters to neighboring buildings and wind patterns. We'll see how all of these important factors inform the architecture. This is designing a museum. Now, the competition for Museum of Emotions doesn't have a predetermined site. In fact, the prompt states that you can choose any location, real or imaginary. I realize that this is a bit of a luxury since in real life you don't usually get to just choose your location. But I kind of like the challenge of picking a real location and adapting to the environment. For me, I'm envisioning something that's coastal, that has the four seasons, and a place that's close to a city for ease of access and cultural immersion. I've recently spent some time in Long Island, New York, and I felt that this region or this area of New York really meets that criteria. But where exactly in Long Island? Well, let's go to the map. What I'm noticing about these beaches is that a lot of them are relatively close to the highway, which is good for easy access, but I'm thinking of noise, and I also, probably more importantly, want to create this sense of arrival when you get to the museum. I need a pocket of land that feels a bit more isolated, off the beaten path. And then I stumbled upon Jones Beach. Now there's already an energy and education center here, so I want to give that site as much space as possible so as not to interrupt views or that program. And what I saw was this section on the left. The beach comes to a point facing southwest. It creates almost this sort of triangle with sand on both sides. It's coastal, so we'll have those warm temperatures, but it's still New York. So we'll get the four seasons and even some snow on the beach during winter. I'm already imagining what that could look like. So now that we've settled on a site, let's learn more about the weather and lighting patterns here. So to begin with weather, this chart kind of gives a nice overview of the temperature patterns for this specific area. We can see on the left in January, we have a high of 55, but average daytime temperatures of 34, which is just about freezing. Wind will definitely play a factor into how the temperature is perceived. So let's look at the wind. This is the monthly wind direction and strength distribution. And we can see in green is 8 to 25 mile per hour winds, which is pretty significant. I feel like anything under 8 is going to be just a gentle breeze, very mild. Now this is our solar chart. I will link where I found this in the description, but this solar chart is beautiful because it shows the overall, obviously, direction of the sun. You can plop in your coordinates here, and I put in the coordinates for the project, which I will put here in case you're curious as to where it's located. But we have important dates like the summer solstice here with the middle line and the winter solstice with the bottom line. For the positive emotion, I really want lots of natural light. Aligning it south, of course, is gonna get the most exposure, but then I'm already thinking, okay, south-facing views, ocean views, beautiful, but the problem is the wind, so we might need to adjust that. Now that we have a rough idea of the site parameters and the overall environment, let's bring this over to the drawing board and add some of the original concepts that we drew in the last episode and bring that into a real world setting. Just as a means of doing this, what I'm going to do here is just bring this paper over. I'm going to throw a ruler on here just to hold it in place. That way I can do several iterations. Now, as far as scale, you might be able to see it here. I believe this is 50 feet. The research center is somewhere in this region. So we have research center here. And what's nice is that there's actually a path that goes around. And the contour lines are set to a 3-foot increase. So we have ocean here, obviously at 0, and then the beach is going to be at this 3-foot mark. What I'm visualizing that we do is we set the building somewhere right around here. that creates enough of a separation here. It follows that natural path that exists here that kind of leads to the building here. And I think I like the idea of it transitioning from this more dune landscape to then sand and then the water going this way. You have your south facing views, and you have these views to the west, these views to the east facing more ocean, and then these views facing the city. You can imagine the city is over on this side. Just to bring this to life even further, we have this like rectangle form. So I like the idea of positioning the building something like this. And the concept here is, okay, you walk, you take the path, and then the view opens this way, because this is the big ocean view is right here. We just have, this is all water this way. And I like that reveal of going from dark. On this side, you have the fields, you have the dunes, right? And then it clears up to the ocean. I think the only problem is that we have prevailing winds facing directly this way. And that kind of does something here, because what I'm visualizing is this being glass, right? And so what comes to my mind is that what if we rotated this 45 degrees to make the corner of this building block the wind, and the wind goes on the corner and around. I kind of like this idea. This looks really good. Let's bring it over to the computer to generate some concepts. So what I've done is I brought this sketch. We've taken the sketch from the last episode and we've refined it a little bit, as you can see here on the left. So I've given it a lot of parameters, and we're gonna generate 3 renders just to see who we can come up with here. Okay, this is very brutalist. It's not exactly what I'm going for, but I think what I can do is refine this prompt a little bit more. This is kind of cool though. I kind of like this one. Let's give it another shot, except this time throwing in the Tadao Ando photo, and we're gonna generate 3 examples. Okay, this is much better. We're getting somewhere. Now we have 2 forms, which is good. Select from previous creations. Ooh, this one's very good. Hold on. I didn't even see this. Okay, of all of the renders, this one is the closest to what I have imagined. Wow, didn't even see this. This is very, very good. This is almost exactly what I'm envisioning. We have the ocean here to the left, or behind the structure, and we have these 2 concrete forms. I really like the idea of the steps that lead up to the front. It's something that I haven't considered actually. So maybe this is a design change actually. Doing steps, I'm gonna sit on that idea. So we're gonna download this and save it. Wow, very nice. The idea is becoming more concrete, literally. Now, all of the renders that you just saw were made with Render AI, the sponsor for this video. Render is an all-in-one architectural rendering program. What I really like about this platform, especially with this project of designing a museum, is that it creates a sort of realism, and it puts you in the setting of the location, specifically here by the beach. I think visualizing the project early on is nice as well, because you get a certain feel for materials or lighting or setting, location, as we're talking about in this episode. I feel like it's helping me, it's sparing me from making a lot of unnecessary poor decisions. The beauty with this program is you can make several iterations, as many images as you'd like. If you'd like to give Render a try, you can get 10% off your subscription by using my code JM10 at checkout. Thank you, Render AI, for sponsoring this video. To wrap things up for this episode, I'm really liking the direction and the shape, literally, that things are taking for the project. I think it's fascinating to see how something as simple as wind direction and solar pattern, the sun pattern, can drastically impact the orientation of a building. I think I initially envisioned the front of the building facing the ocean, but tilting the building to disperse the wind is something that I wouldn't have come up with on my own, but rather the site lend itself to that conclusion. And I think that's the beauty of architecture, is that it's about having a refined process over a finished product. The finished product is the end goal, of course, and we'll get there. But I think what looking at the site has taught me is that you have to respect the landscape. You have to respect your neighbors, the buildings that surround. And so all of these factors could be viewed as limits, but I feel like it creates a more intriguing architecture. Now that we have a better idea of the site, in the next episode, I look forward to diving into the plan. We're going to take these maybe more ambiguous concepts and we're going to bring them into actual measurements, into actual dimensions that we can translate eventually into a model. I'm really excited to see how this museum of emotions comes to life. Thank you for watching.